Hello, I am Chinenye Nwabweze. I present to you this book entitled African Communication System, a quick insight. Module 1, Conceptual Understanding of African Communication System. Let's look at the basic concepts that guide this book. But first, let's present a brief introduction of African Communication System. Introduction. Every society has unique communication system. This consists of identifiable patterns and components of communication process that are traditional to a given society. Africa comprises several indigenous societies, which communication patterns make up what is referred to as African communication system. As the source of humanity and civilization, Africa is not only unique in customs, tradition, and culture, but in its means of communication. You see, the African continent is made up of several indigenous societies, and these societies have various communication patterns, and these patterns make up what we refer to as African communication system. People are fond of these communication patterns because it's part of their culture, and this gives them an enduring nature. So the enduring nature of the indigenous means of communication in Africa has made them to survive the emergence of organs of mass communication such as books, newspapers, magazines, radio, television, the internet, and social media. And this has kept them relevant even in the contemporary world. So let's look at these African means of communication with a view to understanding what they are, how they operate, and why they have remained relevant in modern society. Concept of African communication system. First, what is communication? Communication is the exchange of ideas and information between and among sender and receiver. It is information sharing and dissemination between sender and receiver. Communication is a process by which people send messages or exchange ideas or thoughts with one another in a verbal or non-verbal manner. Communication could be intrapersonal. Now, by intrapersonal, it means that the sender is also the receiver. When you talk to yourself, when you think aloud, you are engaging in intrapersonal communication. The sender is also the receiver. It could be interpersonal, that is between a different sender and a different receiver. Here, the sender is different from the receiver. Interpersonal communication, communication between two entities. It could be group communication. Here you have group communication, that is where a group is engaged in exchange of ideas and information of all kinds. Of course, interpersonal communication between two persons. It could be mass communication, that is dissemination of information to a large heterogeneous audience at the same time through organs of mass communication such as television, radio, books, the internet, among others. It could be traditional communication, that is dissemination of information through indigenous channels of communication such as the metal gong, wooden gong, use of animals such as the white cock, the goats, whatever animal you use of plants. It could be fresh palm fronds and all that. That is in terms of the non-verbal communication. Then it could be verbal communication in terms of oral tradition and others. Communication comes in these various forms. What is a communication system? A communication system refers to the nature and patterns of information sharing in a given society. It consists of the channels, sender, receiver, and their characteristics, including the features of the society which facilitate functionality of the communication system. A communication system consists of all that shape and make the communication process work in any given society. This includes such features as the media landscape, that is existing channels of communication in that society, where they are, where they're located, nature of the audience, message content, nature of the society, including the relationship between the media and other institutions in the society. So the nature of the society, institutions in the society, their political system, economic system, They all reflect on the communication system. Communication system does not exist in isolation. So a communication system is made up of all that shape and make the communication process work in a given society. What then is African communication system? African communication system, therefore, consists of communication patterns and channels common among specific societies in Africa. This includes various formal and informal processes, components, and influences that make up the platform for information dissemination and exchange of ideas through indigenous communication channels in any given society. This refers to various formal and informal processes, components, and influences which make up the platform for information dissemination in a traditional media setting in any given society. African communication system speaks about the dominant form and content of indigenous channels of communication in Africa, including the relationship between these communication channels and the society. It further consists of the nature and operations of various culture-specific indigenous channels of communication that exist in a society. It also includes the traditional media landscape and interrelationship between native communication channels and other institutions in the society. Now, the core of African communication system, which gives it unique and identifiable features, is the traditional media. This takes us to the next module, which is a conceptual discourse on the traditional media. Module 2, Traditional Media, Meaning and Nature. Let's take a quick look at the meaning and nature of indigenous channels of communication. Meaning of traditional media. The traditional media are culture-specific channels of communication common among people in a given society. They are also known as indigenous channels of communication, folk media, or native media. They are people-oriented, folk-driven communication channels. They include the instruments such as the wooden and metal gongs, flute, and drums. Use of plants, for instance, the use of fresh palm fronds, and animals such as the white pigeon, white cock, and others. They also include platforms for passing across meanings such as festivals, ceremonies, secret societies, age grades, the church, the mosque, that is spiritual groups and gatherings, opinion leaders, among others. The traditional media also include non-verbal forms of expressing meanings such as snapping of the finger, sticking out of the tongue, use of colors and symbols. In traditional communication, body adornment and clothing are used to express meaning. That is in form of non-verbal communication. They speak loud, they speak volumes. They tell you where people are from, what they are doing, if it's in ceremony, what kind of ceremony they are in. As mentioned earlier, traditional media consists of use of plants such as fresh palm fronds and animals such as white pigeon, white cock, and others in expressing meanings. It also includes the use of festivals, ceremonies, secret societies, white chalk, among others. Now here you see that body adornment and clothing are used to communicate in African settings. Here, with what these people have put on their body, these kids, you will see somebody can tell the community they are from or the tribe they are from. Even use of dressing and dress code could express such meanings. Here you see Itunzu festival. Itunzu, that's the use of white chalk. In some parts of Igbo land, Itunzu is used here to express meanings. Here is an Itunzu ceremony performed by a traditional ruler aired on ITV. He's using the traditional ruler here is using the Uzu, that is the white chalk, to communicate with the gods and spirit beings, asking for good tidings to come to people. That's what they want in the ceremony they've come for. It's just good, it's just favor, and that anything bad should be made to disappear from their settings. So that is how relevant the white chalk is even in modern society. That's why we're saying that traditional media still remain relevant in modern society. As you can see, the white chalk is still relevant in communities, not just in Nigeria, but across Africa.